Media Fact Checker. Australia's economic risks from Iran-US conflict and domestic policy fallout. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Barry Cassidy and Tony Barry are co-hosting a Guardian podcast analysing economic risks. The RBA, Reserve Bank of Australia, has raised the cash rate. Liberal MP Andrew Hastie has criticised US President Trump's Iran war policy. Treasurer Jim Chalmers is described as opening the door for a potential recession. The article discusses the fuel crisis and its economic fallout in Australia. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Teen stabbing incident at Melbourne shopping centre and related crime updates. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. A 25-year-old woman was stabbed while walking to work at M-City Shopping Centre, Clayton, around 7:30 to 7:50 a.m. on Thursday. A 16-year-old boy was arrested and charged for the stabbing, occurring inside the shopping centre on Blackburn Road. The victim was taken to hospital with upper body injuries and remains in a serious but stable condition. A passerby called 000-000 after the incident and assisted the victim. The offender fled the scene after the stabbing and was later arrested at a medical centre in Clayton. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC does not mention the suspect was on bail before the attack, while Thege explicitly states this. ABC does not specify the victim's hometown, Mount Waverley, or hospital, the Alfred, which Thege provides. Thege reports the victim was stabbed at approximately 7:50 a.m., while ABC states it was around 7:30 a.m. This story was covered by ABC News and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Testing and reviewing the best chef's knives for home cooks. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Ben Lippitt tested 14 knives over a fortnight for The Guardian's knife review. The Wusthof Classic Chef Knife, 20 cm, was named the best overall chef's knife by both articles. The Victorinox Fibrox Chef's Knife, 20 cm, was identified as the best budget knife at £43. Helen Simmons, a knife specialist, advised against using knives on stones, bones, or frozen food. Knife specialist Helen Simmons recommended storing knives on a magnetic rack or in their box to avoid damage. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 does not mention the Sabatier Cook's Knife, 25 cm, as a top pick, while Article 2 names it the best workhorse Western-style knife. Article 1 does not list the Blenheim Forge Santoku knife, 17.5 cm, as a top pick, while Article 2 names it the best investment knife. Article 1 does not mention the Opinel N-Degree 118 Chief Multipurpose Knife as a top pick, while Article 2 recommends it as the best for beginners. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Pauline Hanson's One Nation surge benefiting Labour in Australian elections via electoral system dynamics. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Pauline Hanson declared her surge is just the start after One Nation secured 20% of the vote in recent elections. Labour's primary vote remained stable at 39% despite the Conservative split. Liberal Party vote collapsed to 19% in the same election. One Nation surged to 20% while Greens increased to 11% in the same contest. One Nation finished fourth in Metropolitan Adelaide behind Labour, One Nation, and Greens in multiple seats. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two articles as they are nearly identical in content. This story was covered by Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Former childcare worker convicted of indecent treatment of child, acquitted of rape on Sunshine Coast. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Avinder J. Singh, 43, was found guilty of indecent treatment of a child under 16 years but not guilty of rape. Singh was accused of digitally raping a child in his care at a Sunshine Coast childcare centre in 2022. The trial lasted 3 days with 10 witnesses, including the victim, and the jury deliberated for hours. Singh was sentenced to 20 months in prison, with 10 months to be served before the sentence is suspended and he is deported to Fiji. Singh is a Fiji citizen who worked at the childcare centre on a visa that was cancelled after the rape charge in 2022. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1, ABC, states Singh was found guilty of indecent treatment of a child under 16 years, under 12 years of age, while Article 3, ABC, does not specify the age range beyond under 16. No contradictions found regarding the sentence length or deportation details across sources. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Olympian Rohan Dennis social media post about a car as weapon sparks outrage after wife's fatal accident. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Rohan Dennis, a former world champion cyclist and Australian Olympian, London 2012, was convicted in May 2024 of an aggravated charge of creating likelihood of harm after his wife Melissa Hoskins died in December 2023 when she was struck by his car during an argument outside their Adelaide home. Dennis pleaded guilty to the charge and received a 17-month suspended jail sentence, 1 year and 4 months, and a 2-year good behaviour bond, along with a 5-year driving ban. Melissa Hoskins, an Olympian and world champion cyclist, died on December 30, 2023, after jumping onto the bonnet of Dennis's Volkswagen Amarok while he drove at tilde 20 km/h in Medindy Lane, Adelaide, and was dragged under the car. Dennis posted a photo of a Porsche on Instagram on June 2024 with the caption "What an absolute weapon," sparking outrage and criticism from South Australia's Victims' Rights Commissioner Sarah Quick. Dennis's Instagram account was inactive since his conviction but reactivated in June 2024 with the Porsche post, followed by posts of his children riding bikes captioned "Two absolute weapons." But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states Dennis posted a bike frame photo on June 19, 2024, before the Porsche post, but this detail is not mentioned in ABC or Newscomer. Newscomer reports Dennis was given a suspended jail sentence of 1 year and 4 months, while ABC and The Guardian specify 17 months, likely a combined total of 1 year 4 months suspended plus 3 months unserved. The Guardian notes Dennis deleted his entire Instagram account after the Porsche post, but ABC and Newscomer do not confirm this deletion. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Canadian woman and autistic daughter detained by ICE in Texas after border checkpoint stop. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Tanya Warner, 47, originally from British Columbia, and her 7-year-old daughter Ayla, autistic, were detained by ICE on the 14th of March, 2025 after being stopped at a border patrol checkpoint in Sarita, Texas, while driving home from a baby shower in Raymondville, Texas. Both Warner and Ayla were taken for fingerprinting at the checkpoint and neither returned. Warner was initially held at the Rio Grande Valley Central Processing Center in McAllen, Texas, before being transferred to the Dilley Processing Center in South Texas. Tanya Warner holds a Texas driver's license, a work visa, and a functional visa valid until 2030, and her husband Edward Warner is a U.S. citizen living in Kingsville, Texas. Warner described conditions at the Rio Grande Valley Central Processing Center as including handcuffing children, sleeping on 2-inch mats, and 24-hour lighting, with agents pressuring her to sign self-deportation documents. Global Affairs Canada acknowledged multiple cases of Canadians in U.S. immigration detention and stated it advocates for Canadians abroad but cannot exempt them from local legal processes. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states Warner and Ayla were moved to Dilley on Friday, the 15th of March, while Article 2 does not mention this transfer and focuses on Rio Grande Valley Central as their current location. Article 1 describes Warner as being held at Dili with marginally better conditions, windows, outdoor access, while Article 2 does not mention Dili and only details Rio Grande Valley Central's conditions. Article 1 reports Warner's daughter was given Benadryl for a rash, but Article 2 does not mention this medical detail. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australian Muslims celebrate Eid and Nowruz amid war fears and rising Islamophobia. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Eid al-Fitr and Nowruz celebrations are taking place in Australia this weekend, marking the end of Ramadan and the Persian New Year respectively. Heidelberg Mosque in Melbourne expects 1,500 worshippers for Eid prayers on Friday morning. Security at mosques has been increased due to concerns about Islamophobic incidents and potential threats. The 7th anniversary of the Christchurch massacre is being remembered during this year's Eid. Lokemba Mosque in Sydney anticipates 50,000 attendees for Eid prayers, requiring heightened security. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian mentions Lokemba Mosque security increase is at a level not seen since the 2005 Cronulla riots, while SBS does not provide this specific historical comparison. The Guardian explicitly states the elderly are too scared to walk to the mosque due to nighttime safety concerns, but SBS does not mention this detail. The Guardian includes quotes about politicians normalizing Islamophobia for votes, while SBS does not reference this political context. This story was covered by The Guardian and SBS News. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Arson attack on Jewish community ambulances in London, anti-Semitic hate crime investigation. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. 4 ambulances belonging to Hatzola Northwest, a Jewish volunteer charity, were set on fire in Golders Green, London, on Monday morning, 1:45 a.m. local time. The attack occurred near the Matchsyke Hadath Synagogue on Highfield Road, Golders Green, a predominantly Jewish neighborhood. Explosions were caused by oxygen cylinders on the ambulances, shattering windows in an adjacent apartment block and forcing evacuations. No injuries were reported, and the fire was extinguished by 3:06 a.m. with 6 fire engines and 40 firefighters attending the scene. Police are investigating the incident as an anti-Semitic hate crime, with CCTV footage suggesting 3 suspects were involved. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1, ABC, states the arrests were made on Wednesday, while Article 8, Guardian, also confirms Wednesday but does not specify the day of the week, implying a possible misinterpretation of timing in Article 1. Article 3, Newscamau, claims footage shows alleged arsonists in masks, while Article 4, ABC, explicitly states 3 hooded people pouring gasoline on the vehicles before leaving the scene, adding specificity to the description. Article 2, Guardian, and Article 4, ABC, both mention 3 suspects, but only Article 4 provides visual details, hooded individuals, and Article 2 does not specify their appearance. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and SBS News. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. US military spending and human cost of Iran strikes in early 2026. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The US and Israel launched a joint attack on Iran on the 28th of February, 2026. $11.3 billion was spent on American taxpayer-funded bombs in Iran's first 6 days of conflict, per Pentagon figures. More than 3,000 people in Iran are believed to have been killed in the first 2 weeks of strikes. The Pentagon reported over 15,000 targets hit in Iran during the first 2 weeks of the conflict. The Strait of Hormuz was effectively closed due to the conflict by early March 2026. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states the $11.3 billion figure is for munitions only, while Article 2 clarifies it excludes full operational costs, including force buildup and infrastructure repairs. Article 1 does not mention the $12.7 billion XIS estimate, while Article 2 explicitly states CSIS put the cost at $12.7 billion by day 6. Article 1 does not reference the girls' school strike in Minab, while Article 2 details its destruction and 175 casualties. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Kangaroo Island Council proposes pet cat ban to eradicate feral cats by 2030. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Kangaroo Island Council is considering a last cat policy to ban new pet cats from being introduced to the island. Mayor Michael Pengelly supports the last cat policy and stated it would not immediately remove existing pet cats from owners. Feral cats have predated over 50 native species on Kangaroo Island, including the Kangaroo Island Dunnart and Little Penguin colonies. The Dudley Peninsula project on Kangaroo Island has removed 2,800 feral cats, leaving around 150 remaining. The federal government provided $1.61 million in December 2023 to the Feral Cat Eradication Project on Kangaroo Island. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states the council aims to eradicate feral cats by 2030, while Newscomau does not specify a timeline but emphasizes the long way to go after the Dudley Peninsula project. ABC mentions Mayor Pengelly's statement that the overwhelming majority of locals support the policy, but Newscomau does not include this specific detail about public opinion. ABC notes the council's policy is not that far advanced and would be implemented in tandem with the state government, while Newscomau does not mention the policy's current stage or collaboration with the state. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Coroner's inquest into influencers' free birth death and birthkeepers' refusal to testify. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Stacey Warner-Key, 30, died after complications from a free birth at her Seaford home on September 29, 2023. She suffered a postpartum hemorrhage and multiple cardiac arrests before dying at Frankston Hospital. Emily Lau, known as the authentic birthkeeper, was present during the birth and when 000 was called. Lau has refused to provide a statement citing privilege against self-incrimination. Coroner Therese McCarthy will examine whether earlier medical intervention could have saved Warner-Key's life. But not all outlets told the same story. Newscomau states the inquest is proposed for June 15 to 19, 2024, while ABC only mentions mid-June without exact dates. Newscomau reports the court was told Lau could be given a certificate protecting her evidence, but ABC does not mention this detail. Newscomau specifies the interim ban on Lau expires April 7, 2024, while ABC does not mention an expiration date. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Kyle and Jackie O show's final radio ratings decline and contract disputes. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The Kyle and Jackie O show lost 60,000 listeners in Sydney, ending with a cumulative audience of 636,000 during the January 18 to February 28 survey period. The show's Sydney market share remained unchanged at 12.7%, trailing Ben Fordham's 2 GB by 4 percentage points. Jackie O. Henderson left the show after being berated by Kyle Sandilands on air on February 20, 2024, and did not appear for the final week of the survey. Keys owner ARN suspended Kyle Sandilands for 14 days following alleged serious misconduct and contractual breach, leading to his contract termination on Wednesday. Henderson's representatives informed ARN she could no longer work with Sandilands, resulting in her contract termination. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two sources. This story was covered by Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. First NFL regular season game in Australia at MCG on September 11. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The first NFL regular season game in Australia will be played between the San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, MCG, on Friday, September 11, 2025. The kickoff time for the game is 10:35 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. General access tickets will be available on Ticketmaster starting at $95 for standing room and $140 for general seating, with sales beginning on April 8 at 10 a.m. The NFL opened its Australian office in 2022, and Australia has since established a national flag football program and the NFLAC Academy. The game is expected to be the first of up to 3 NFL games in Victoria over the next several years. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 and 2, Newskamau, initially stated the game would be on September 10th, but Article 3, Newskamau, and Article 4, ABC, confirmed the correct date as September 11th. Article 1 and 2, Newskamau, did not mention the game coinciding with the AFL semi-final weekend, while ABC explicitly noted this potential scheduling conflict. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. US jury finds Meta and Google liable in social media addiction lawsuit against youth. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. A California jury found Meta, parent of Instagram, Facebook, and Google, parent of YouTube, liable in a landmark social media addiction lawsuit on June 12, 2024. The plaintiff, a 20-year-old woman identified as KGM, or Kaylee in court, began using YouTube at age 6 and Instagram at age 9, alleging addiction harmed her mental health. The jury awarded KGM $3 million in compensatory damages, with Meta assigned 70%, $2.1 million, and YouTube 30%, $900,000, of the responsibility. The trial lasted 6 weeks in Los Angeles Superior Court, with testimony from KGM, tech executives, whistleblowers, and expert witnesses on addiction. The case is the first of over 20 bellwether trials in a consolidated lawsuit against Meta, YouTube, TikTok, and Snap on behalf of 600-plus plaintiffs. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian reports KGM's initials are KGM, while ABC and news.com.au refer to her as Kaylee in court. ABC states the total award is $4.3 million, including punitive damages, but SBS and The Guardian list compensatory damages separately as $3 million. The Guardian and news.com.au describe the jury finding malice oppression fraud, but SBS and ABC do not mention this explicitly. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and SBS News. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. US-led Middle East conflict escalates with Iran attacks on energy infrastructure and global response to Strait of Hormuz closure. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. European leaders, UK, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, and Japan issued a joint statement condemning Iran for attacks on commercial shipping vessels and civilian energy facilities in the Strait of Hormuz on 2024 XXXX, exact date not specified. The joint statement called for an immediate comprehensive moratorium on attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations, and expressed readiness to contribute to ensuring safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran retaliated against an Israeli strike on its South Pars natural gas field by attacking a major Qatari liquefied natural gas facility, Ras Laffan, in Qatar, causing 17% of Qatar's LNG export capacity to be eliminated, valued at $20 billion, 28 billion Australian dollars. Brent crude oil prices briefly rose above $119 per barrel on the same day as the attacks. Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi visited Donald Trump at the White House and stated the Middle East security environment was very severe and causing a huge hit to the global economy. But not all outlets told the same story. Trump claimed he had not been aware of the Israeli strike on Iran's South Pars gas field in advance, but US media reports stated Washington was aware of the attack and even supported it. Trump said he had told Netanyahu don't do that about future strikes on oil-gas infrastructure, but the phrasing and context of this claim were not independently verified by other sources. This story was covered by Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Trump orders ICE agents to US airports amid DHS shutdown and TSA staff shortages. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Donald Trump threatened to deploy ICE agents to US airports starting Monday if Democrats did not fund DHS, with the deployment confirmed by Trump and Tom Homan, ABC, Guardian 1, Guardian 2, Guardian 3, ABC 4. More than 400 TSA workers have quit since the partial government shutdown began on February 14, 2026, ABC 1, Guardian 2, Guardian 3, ABC 4. TSA personnel are missing a second full paycheck on March 27, 2026, due to the partial government shutdown, ABC 1, Guardian 3, ABC 4. The partial government shutdown over DHS funding has entered its 36th day as of March 2026, ABC 1, Guardian 3, ABC 4. ICE agents are not specifically trained for airport security, which is TSA's domain, ABC 1, Guardian 1, Guardian 3, ABC 4. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC 1 states more than 400 TSA workers have quit, while Guardian 5 later clarifies the number as 366. ABC 1 and Guardian 5 both mention the shutdown began on February 14, but Guardian 5 states Democrats blocked funding bills 5 times, while ABC 1 does not specify the number of rejections. Guardian 2 says ICE agents' responsibilities at airports are still being finalized, while ABC 4 states Homan pledged a plan by the end of Sunday detailing airports and numbers. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Boating accident in Tasmania's northwest coast kills 1, 3 rescued after capsizing. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. 4 people, 3 adults, ages 27, 33, and a 6-year-old child left the Montague boat ramp west of Smithton at 5:30 p.m. on Saturday for a fishing trip. The boat capsized or broke up around 9 p.m. Saturday, throwing all 4 into the water off Tasmania's far northwest coast near Robins Island. 3 survivors, 27-year-old woman, 33-year-old man, and the 6-year-old child, were rescued about 1 p.m. Sunday on Big Stony Island, 16 hours after the incident. The 3 rescued were wearing life jackets and suffered no injuries. They were taken to Northwest Regional Hospital for observation. The missing 35-year-old man's body was found on Monday on the eastern side of Robins Island. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states the boat capsized, while ABC, Article 2, and Newscomau say the vessel broke up, no consensus on exact cause. ABC, Article 1, mentions the 35-year-old was understood to have not been wearing a life jacket, but ABC, Article 2, says all 4 occupants were thrown into the water without specifying his life jacket status. Newscomau says the 3 survivors were floating in the ocean before rescue, while ABC describes them as washed ashore near Robins Island before being found on Big Stony Island. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Arrests and investigation into alleged mistaken identity kidnapping and murder of 85-year-old Sydney grandfather Chris Bagsarian. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Chris Bagsarian, 85, was allegedly kidnapped from his North Ryde home on February 13 around 5 a.m. in a case of mistaken identity. Bagsarian's remains were found near a golf club in Pitt Town on February 24, 11 days after his disappearance. 2 men, Gerard Andrews, 29, and Daniel Stevens, 24, were arrested and charged with murder and kidnapping with intent to ransom or cause grievous bodily harm in February. A 23-year-old man and 23-year-old woman were arrested on March 20 during a search warrant at a Seven Hills property, with firearms, drugs, and electronic devices seized. The man arrested on March 20th was charged with murder, multiple drug offenses, unauthorized firearm possession, and facilitating the kidnapping and body disposal. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian implies Bagsarian's body was not found until February 24, post-disappearance, while NSW police in other sources state it was found on February 24, 11 days after abduction. ABC notes the intended target may have been a relative of Dimitri Stepanyan, but this is not confirmed as an official police allegation in other sources. The Guardian does not mention the woman's charges or the man's specific role in body disposal, unlike NSW police's detailed allegations. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Federal judge blocks Pentagon's 2025 press access policy restricting journalists' rights. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. A U.S. federal judge, Paul Friedman, blocked a Pentagon policy introduced in October 2025 that allowed journalists to be labeled security risks and lose press access for seeking unauthorized information. The policy was approved by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth under the Trump administration and revoked credentials of outlets refusing to sign an acknowledgement of the new rules. Of the 56 news outlets in the Pentagon Press Association, only one agreed to sign the new policy, leading to the loss of press passes for non-signatories. The Pentagon assembled a new press corps consisting of pro-Trump outlets and media personalities after the exodus of mainstream reporters. The New York Times filed a lawsuit alleging the policy violated First Amendment free speech protections and Fifth Amendment due process rights. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC mentions the policy was introduced under the Trump administration and approved by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth in October 2025, while The Guardian does not specify Hegseth's exact role or the month beyond October. ABC states the policy was introduced under the Trump administration and linked to Trump's actions in Venezuela, Iran, but The Guardian does not explicitly tie the policy to Trump's presidency beyond the administration's actions. The Guardian's headline calls the policy controversial without citing specific administration officials, whereas ABC names Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and Trump directly in the text. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australia-EU Free Trade Agreement, Farmers' Criticism versus Government Support. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The Australia-EU Free Trade Agreement was finalised after 8 years of negotiations between Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The deal removes tariffs from 97.8% of Australian goods exported to the EU, including produce, dairy, machinery, and textiles. Australian beef exporters will gain 35,000 tonnes per year to the EU market, a 700% boost, while sheep meat exporters will get 31,000 tonnes per year, a five-fold increase. The agreement was announced on Tuesday, with the EU reportedly not seeking to restart talks if negotiations failed. The National Farmers Federation, NFF, President Hamish McIntyre criticised the deal, calling it a long-term generational agreement with very low volumes for decades. But not all outlets told the same story. News Kamau reports the beef quota as 35,000 tonnes per year, 700% boost, while ABC reports 30,600 tonnes, no percentage boost specified. News Kamau claims 95% of the Australian industry supports the deal, but ABC does not provide a similar statistic and focuses on farming groups' opposition. News Kamau states the EU was not looking to restart talks if negotiations failed, but ABC does not mention this specific detail. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Nicola Oleslages finishes as silver medalist in women's high jump at World Indoor Championships in Poland. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Nicola Olislagers won silver in the women's high jump at the World Indoor Championships in Torun, Poland. Yaroslava Mahuchik won gold with a clearance of 2.01 meters. Olislagers, Yulia Levchenko, Ukraine, and Angelina Topic, Serbia, shared silver after all clearing 1.99 meters. Olislagers cleared 1.99 meters on her first attempt, equaling her indoor personal best. Eleanor Patterson, Australia, finished 7th with a clearance of 1.93 meters. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states Olislagers was a little surprised to be among the top 4, while ABC does not mention this specific reaction. The Guardian describes Eleanor Patterson's performance as suffering early failures, while ABC does not use this phrasing. The Guardian notes Peter Boll had raced indoors only twice in his life before the event, while ABC does not specify this exact detail. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Stephen Colbert to co-write a new Lord of the Rings film after leaving The Late Show. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Stephen Colbert will co-write a new Lord of the Rings film titled The Lord of the Rings, Shadow of the Past. The film will be produced by Peter Jackson, Philippe Arboyens, and Fran Walsh. Colbert's The Late Show on CBS will air its last episode on May 21, 2024. The film is set 14 years after the events of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, following Sam, Merry, and Pippin. Colbert's son, Peter McGee, is co-writing the film alongside Colbert and Philippe Arboyens. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian mentions Colbert's son as Peter Colbert, later corrected to Peter McGee, while ABC only references Peter McGee as the screenwriter. The Guardian states the original trilogy grossed $2.9 billion, $4.1 billion combined with Hobbit, while ABC initially states the trilogy grossed over $2.9 billion without Hobbit, and later clarifies to $4.1 billion. The Guardian specifies Colbert's cancellation was criticized as politically motivated due to his criticism of Paramount's $16 million Trump settlement, while ABC does not mention this context. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Death and legacy of martial arts icon Chuck Norris at age 86. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Chuck Norris died at age 86 on Thursday, Friday AEDT, after a sudden passing, with his family keeping details private. Born Carlos Ray Norris on March 10, 1940, in Ryan, Oklahoma, he moved to California at age 12 and joined the U.S. Air Force in 1958. Norris became a 6-time undefeated world professional middleweight karate champion and founded Chun Kuk Do Karate. He appeared in over 20 movies, including The Way of the Dragon *, 1972, Missing in Action *, 1984, The Delta Force *, 1986, and Walker, Texas Ranger *, 1993 to 2001. Norris was honored as an honorary Texas Ranger in 2010 and received the title of Honorary Texan from the Texas Senate. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian, Article 2, describes Norris as equal parts Irish and Native American, Cherokee, but this detail is not mentioned in any other source. ABC states Norris was hospitalized in Hawaii, while SMH and Guardian, Article 3, do not specify a location for hospitalization. The Guardian, Article 2, notes Norris contributed to *World Net Daily * with far-right headlines, but this is not referenced in SMH or ABC. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Research reveals how proximity to trees affects property value and public attitudes toward urban trees. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Associate Professor Song Shi led a study, 2021 to 2025, At UTS, finding trees 10 to 20 m from a house increased property value by $30,000, while trees within 10 m reduced value by up to $70,000, adjusted for bedrooms, land size, parking, CBD proximity. Matt Cantwell, Secret Gardens, cited Ocean Street, Woollahra, and Paddington Street, Paddington, as examples of streets with aesthetic value from trees. Danielle Hughes, Greater Sydney Landcare, noted mature trees can cool surrounding areas by nearly 10 degrees Celsius and reduce cooling costs by 20 to 30%. Dr. Nader Naderpaju, University of Sydney, and Amir Pakiz found Western Sydney suburbs like St Mary's and Blacktown increased tree coverage, while Liverpool saw a decrease. Adam Haddow, Australian Institute of Architects, stated Australian natives are criticised for dropping branches flowers, affecting lawns and pools. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two sources. This story was covered by Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Queensland Government appoints former police officer Darren Robinson to Legal Aid Board amid Palm Island controversy. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Darren Robinson was a senior sergeant and friend of Christopher Hurley, the officer accused of causing Mulrunji Doomadgee's 2004 death in custody on Palm Island. Robinson investigated a prior complaint against Hurley in 2004, ruling it fictitious. An inquest later described his investigation as superficial, biased and misleading, and his conclusion as dishonest and flew in the face of objective evidence. The Crime and Misconduct Commission recommended Robinson be disciplined alongside 3 other officers in 2015, but no disciplinary action was taken. Robinson was admitted to practice as a solicitor in 2014 after leaving police. Queensland's Legal Aid Board was entirely replaced in February 2024 by the Liberal National Party government, with Robinson appointed as part of the new board. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 claims Robinson was appointed as part of a team of police sent to Palm Island to investigate Doomadgee's death in 2004 and participated in subsequent raids, while Article 2 does not specify his exact role in the raids beyond accompanying tactical police. Article 1 does not mention Robinson being called a principal antagonist in federal court documents, while Article 2 explicitly cites this term from Justice Mortimer's ruling. Article 1 does not reference Justice Mortimer's 2015 ruling that Robinson's conduct amounted to harassment toward Lex Wotton's children, while Article 2 includes this detail. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. NSW government considering banning strata manager commissions to cut apartment costs. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. NSW Productivity Commissioner Peter Achterstraat's report recommends banning commissions for strata managers, citing conflicts of interest and inflated costs. The report estimates scrapping commissions could save apartment owners $333 million over 15 years in NSW. More than 1 million people live in strata properties across NSW, with nearly half of Greater Sydney's homes expected to be strata titled by 2041. Strata managers currently receive commissions, e.g., 20% on insurance policies, from services like insurance, energy, and telecommunications, often split with brokers. A NSW Productivity and Equality Commission report received over 550 submissions, with strong support for reform from apartment owners. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states Achterstraat wants commissions banned sooner rather than later, while the SMH notes the government is only carefully considering the recommendations without immediate action. The ABC implies the opposition has not yet taken a definitive stance on banning commissions, whereas The Guardian explicitly mentions opposition spokesperson Tim James would consider a ban. The SMH reports some strata managers insist commissions are necessary for important and resource-intensive work, while The Guardian frames commissions as purely conflict-driven and unnecessary. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Danish parliamentary election 2026 and ensuing coalition negotiations. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Mette Fredriksen's Social Democrats won 38 seats in the 179-seat Folketing, down from 50 in 2022, marking their worst result since 1903. The left-wing Red Bloc, Social Democrats plus allies, secured 84 seats, while the right-wing Blue Bloc won 77 seats, neither achieving a majority. Lars Løkke Rasmussen's centre-right moderates hold 14 seats, placing him as the kingmaker in coalition talks. Fredriksen formally resigned as Prime Minister on the 25th of March, 2026 after submitting her government's resignation to King Frederik X. Troels Lund Poulsen, Venstre, ruled out forming a coalition with Fredriksen's Social Democrats and remained a Prime Minister candidate. But not all outlets told the same story. Guardian Article 1 states Fredriksen's party won nearly 22% of the vote, while ABC does not specify the exact percentage but only mentions at least 38 seats without vote share context. Guardian Article 2 implies Fredriksen was given the first chance to form a government by the palace, but Guardian Article 1 does not explicitly state this as a formal offer, only that she was asked to explore coalition options. ABC describes Fredriksen's Social Democrats as the architects of Denmark's cradle-to-grave welfare state, a framing not present in the other Guardian articles, which focus more on policy specifics like the wealth tax. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. US Senate confirms Markwayne Mullin as DHS Secretary amid immigration enforcement debates. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Markwayne Mullin was confirmed as U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary by the Senate on a 54-45 vote, with only Rand Paul, Republican Kentucky, opposing and John Fetterman, Democrat Pennsylvania, and Martin Heinrich, Democrat New Mexico, supporting. Mullin's confirmation followed a Senate committee vote advancing his nomination with 7 Republicans voting yes and Rand Paul, Republican Kentucky, voting no. Mullin previously served as a U.S. House Representative and was elected Oklahoma's junior senator in 2022. ICE and other immigration enforcement agencies remained operational despite a partial DHS shutdown in mid-February due to Democratic demands for guardrails on immigration enforcement. Mullin stated that DHS agents would not enter homes or businesses without a judicial warrant, contradicting reports of administrative warrants being used. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states Mullin's confirmation vote was 54-45 with Heinrich, Democrat New Mexico, supporting him, while Article 2 does not mention Heinrich's support in the committee vote context. Article 1 claims Mullin refused to commit to not having immigration agents positioned near polling stations, while Article 2 states he did not commit to avoiding polling place enforcement by ICE. Both imply non-commitment but differ in phrasing. Article 1 notes Mullin's predecessor Noam was fired reportedly due to dissatisfaction with ads, while Article 2 does not mention the reason for Noam's firing. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. US-Iran escalation over Strait of Hormuz and energy infrastructure threats in Middle East war. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Donald Trump gave Iran a 48-hour deadline, until 23:44 Greenwich Mean Time on March 25, to fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz without threat, or face US strikes on Iran's power plants, posting on Truth Social on March 24, 2026. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf stated that if Iran's power plants and infrastructure are targeted, vital infrastructure as well as energy and oil infrastructure across the entire region will be considered legitimate targets and will be irreversibly destroyed, according to statements on March 24 to 25, 2026. Iran's Military Operational Command Qatam al-Anbiya warned that if the US targets Iran's power plants, the Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed and will not reopen until Iran's destroyed power plants are rebuilt, as reported on March 24 to 25, 2026. Iran's missiles struck southern Israeli cities Dimona and Orod on March 24 to 25, injuring approximately 200 people, including children, and damaging buildings, with Israeli air defenses failing to intercept some strikes, confirmed by multiple sources. The Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed to vessels linked to Iran's enemies, US and Israel, as per Ali Mousavi, Iran's representative to the International Maritime Organization, on March 24 to 25, 2026. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian, Steve Reed, denied Iran was targeting Europe, stating he was not aware of any assessment that Iran intended to strike European capitals, while the Israeli military chief al-Zami claimed Iran's missiles had a range reaching Berlin, Paris, or Berlin, implying a direct threat to Europe. ABC reported that Lebanese President Joseph Aoun accused Israel of laying the groundwork for an invasion in Lebanon's south, while Israel's military stated it was targeting Hezbollah infrastructure to contain the threat in the south and eliminate it, framing the strikes as defensive rather than preparatory for an invasion. The Guardian, Steve Reed, stated Trump was speaking for himself when threatening to obliterate Iran's power plants, while other sources, e.g., Newskamau, SMH, presented the threat as an official U.S. administration stance without qualifying it as Trump's personal opinion. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Italian PM Giorgia Meloni faces referendum defeat on judiciary reform. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Giorgia Meloni's government proposed a referendum to reform Italy's judiciary, separating judges and prosecutors and altering the Superior Council of the Judiciary, CSM. The referendum was held over 2 days, Sunday through Monday, with 53.8% to 54% of voters rejecting the reform and 46% to 46.2% supporting it. Turnout reached a record 58.5%, Guardian, or nearly 59%, ABC, higher than expected forecasts. Giorgia Meloni acknowledged defeat, stating the Italians have decided and pledged to move forward with responsibility and respect. The referendum campaign featured inflammatory rhetoric from Meloni and her ministers against the judiciary, framing it as a political issue. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian reports turnout at 58.5%, Interior Ministry data, while ABC states it was nearly 59%, no official source cited. The Guardian specifies 53.8% voted no, Opinio Rai data, but ABC rounds to almost 54% without citing the exact source. The Guardian attributes the 61% no vote among 18 to 34-year-olds to Opinio Rai data, while ABC does not mention youth turnout breakdowns. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Matildas lose 1-0 to Japan in Women's Asian Cup 2026 final at Stadium Australia. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The Women's Asian Cup 2026 final was played on March 21, 2026, at Stadium Australia in Sydney, Australia. Japan won the final 1-0 against Australia, securing their third Women's Asian Cup title, previous wins in 2014 and 2018. Maika Hameno scored the only goal of the match for Japan in the 15th minute, a curling shot past Mackenzie Arnold. The crowd for the final was approximately 74,397 fans, the largest in Women's Asian Cup history. Australia's starting lineup included Sam Kerr, captain, Caitlin Ford, Alana Kennedy, Ellie Carpenter, and Mackenzie Arnold. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1, ABC, states the crowd for the final was almost 80,000, while Article 3, Guardian, specifies the crowd was 74,397. Article 2, Guardian, claims Japan had 64% possession and 88% pass accuracy in the semi-final against South Korea, but no other source confirms these exact numbers. Article 4, Guardian, mentions the Matildas' first-half performance against China was not good enough, while Article 3, Guardian, describes it as a brave semi-final exit. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media fact checker. Qantas Jetstar reduces NZ flights due to rising jet fuel prices amid global fuel crisis. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Jetstar is reducing 12% of services on some flights between Auckland and Sydney, and Auckland and Brisbane, starting May. Jetstar cited rising jet fuel prices as the reason for flight reductions, directly linked to the Middle East conflict. Air New Zealand also reduced flights earlier this month, March 16 to May 3, cutting 5% of its total domestic and international schedule, mainly in lower demand or off-peak times. Vietnam Airlines plans to cancel more than 20 domestic flights weekly starting next month due to looming jet fuel shortages. Australia's fuel crisis includes 8% of service stations nationwide without one or more grades of fuel, 560 stations affected as of reporting. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states Jetstar's 12% reduction applies to some flights between Auckland, Sydney and Auckland, Brisbane, while Newskamau specifies over 55 flights have been cut from these routes and Sydney Air Queenstown, via Melbourne. Newskamau reports 8% of Australian service stations, 560, lack fuel, but ABC does not provide a specific national percentage or total stations affected. ABC mentions Air New Zealand's 5% reduction as unprecedented volatility in jet fuel prices, while Newskamau does not repeat this specific phrasing. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australia faces fuel shortages amid diesel standard relaxation and supply disruptions. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Energy Minister Chris Bowen lowered Australia's diesel flashpoint standard from 61.5 degrees Celsius to 60.5 degrees Celsius for 6 months to increase supply options, ABC, Guardian. Hundreds of service stations across Australia lack at least one type of fuel, with NSW reporting 289 stations without one or more fuel types, ABC, Guardian. In New South Wales, 164 stations are without diesel, ABC, Guardian. Queensland has 55 stations without diesel and 35 without unleaded petrol, ABC, Guardian. 6 fuel shipments to Australia were cancelled in April, with some replaced by alternate sources, ABC. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states 6 April shipments were cancelled with some replaced by alternate sources, while Guardian says Bowen declined to specify when the cancellations occurred or if they were all on the same day. ABC reports 289 NSW stations without at least one fuel type, while Guardian states 105 NSW stations were without diesel, no mention of total fuel shortages. ABC claims 164 NSW stations lack diesel, but Guardian only mentions 37 NSW stations without petrol, no diesel-specific figure. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Global oil crisis triggered by Middle East conflict and Strait of Hormuz blockage. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The International Energy Agency, IEA, issued a global warning on Friday urging governments to reduce oil demand through measures like working from home, cutting speed limits by 10 km per hour, and avoiding air travel to offset a severe oil shortage caused by the Middle East conflict. The IEA released 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves on March 14, marking the largest stock draw in its history, but warned it would not be enough to offset the impact of the war if the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked. The Strait of Hormuz, where 20 million barrels of crude oil and oil products typically pass through daily, has seen shipping reduced to a trickle due to the Israel-US strikes on Iran, creating the largest supply disruption in global oil market history. Oil prices have surged above $100 per barrel, and refined products like diesel, jet fuel, and LPG have seen sharp increases as a result of the supply disruption. The IEA's executive director, Fatih Birol, stated that without a swift resolution to the conflict, the impacts on energy markets and economies will become more severe. But not all outlets told the same story. Eid and Nowruz both report that Australia was not part of the joint Western Statement on the Strait of Hormuz, but Eid includes opposition criticism that Australia was missing in action, while SMH and Guardian do not explicitly address this political framing. Eid and SMH mention the Albanese government's consideration of a windfall tax on gas firms, but Nowruz and Guardian do not reference this specific proposal. Eid and SMH both report that the Albanese government has not ruled out using emergency powers to nationalise fuel supply, but Guardian does not mention this explicitly. This story was covered by The Guardian, news.com.au, Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Israel's strike on Iran's South Pars gas field triggers regional retaliation and US-Israel rift. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Israel bombed Iranian facilities linked to the South Pars gas field, the largest natural gas field in the world, shared between Iran and Qatar. ABC, Guardian, ABC, Guardian, ABC, Guardian, Guardian, ABC. Iran retaliated by launching strikes on Qatar's Ras Laffan gas complex, causing extensive damage and knocking out about 17%, ABC, or 20%, Guardian, of Qatar's LNG export capacity, with repairs estimated to take 3 to 5 years. Guardian, ABC, Guardian, Guardian. QatarEnergy reported $20 billion in damage to Ras Laffan and a loss of 12.8 million tons per year of gas production. Guardian, ABC. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned of zero restraint if energy infrastructure is targeted again. Guardian, Guardian. US President Donald Trump claimed he knew nothing about the South Pars attack in advance, but later said he told Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu not to attack again. Guardian, ABC, Guardian, ABC, Guardian, ABC. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC reports Trump met Qatar's Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani in 2025, while Guardian states the meeting occurred in 2026. ABC claims Yoel Gazansky stated the US was actively involved in coordinating the South Pars attack, while Guardian does not attribute this exact claim to a named analyst. Guardian states Brent crude spiked to $119 before slipping to $110, while ABC does not specify the peak price but notes a 10% increase. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Severe flash flooding and dam failure risks in Hawaii's northern Oahu and Maui due to extreme rainfall. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Thousands of residents, over 4,000 to 5,500, were ordered to evacuate in northern Oahu, including Waialua and Halewa, due to flooding and dam risks. The Wahiawa Dam on Oahu, built in 1903, is at risk of imminent failure with water actively running over its spillway at 1,500 gallons per second, reported by Guardian and ABC. Emergency sirens and leave now evacuation orders were issued for areas downstream of the Wahiawa Dam on Friday morning, April 12, 2024. A shelter at Waialua High and Intermediate School, with 185 people and 50 pets, was evacuated due to flooding and later relocated. Heavy rainfall, 200 to 300 millimeters overnight on Oahu, 400 millimeters at Kala Peak, saturated the ground after a prior storm dumped 670 millimeters between March 10 to 16, 2024. But not all outlets told the same story. Guardian Article 1 reports evacuation orders for 4,000 plus people, while Guardian Article 3 later states 5,500 people were under evacuation orders. ABC states Maui County issued an asterisk evacuation advisory asterisk, not warning, for Lahaina, but Guardian Article 3 calls it an asterisk evacuation warning star. Guardian Article 1 mentions a shelter at Waialua High lost power and was evacuated itself, while ABC does not mention power loss at the shelter. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis.